So, ma'am, have you seen any improvement in your coding skills with Python after so much time? So, any improvements or hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So, I was asking that have you seen any improvement in yourself when coding in
Uh,
Python compared to earlier?
Sir, one second. Tell me, sir.
So, I'm asking, have you seen any improvement in your coding skills after this course or throughout this course?
Throughout this course, I didn't get you, sir. My system volume is having some problem.
Okay, okay. I'm saying that have you seen any improvement in your coding skills?
Any coding?
Skills in Python.
I know this is the
Coding
first course
skills.
I'm attending. Uh, Python, this is the first course I'm attending, sir.
Okay. All right. So good evening. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
And I hope my screen is also visible. So yeah. So today I have planned to solve the problems of assignment 1 and 2 as well. And I'll try to complete it in within 2 hours. If not, then if one or two questions are remaining, I'll take it up in the next class. And as far as our previous class is concerned, we are left with um, inheritance or object-oriented programming. And after that, we'll move on to some algorithmic efficiencies. And yeah, Ramprakash, in previous class, you were saying that you couldn't follow what is a class method and all that. So did you go through the lecture again and try to understand it?
No, sir. I was doing the assignment as a the project work for this, so I did
All
not
right.
go through.
So,
But I'll go through it before the next class.
okay, okay. So what I will do is I'll take up the part of properties and class methods again when I start
Okay.
next class. And I'm planning to take two more classes this week. So I think I'll take a class on Sunday as well as Monday. So today is our 14th class. So on Monday, we will complete our 16th class.
Okay. So Tomorrow also we have a class at the same time.
Yes, Sunday
Okay.
and Monday.
Okay.
So I'll inform you. So I'm 95% sure I'll take 2 more classes. So on Monday and Sunday. Sorry, Sunday
Okay.
and Monday. All right. Yes. So this is our first question for assignment 1. And how are we planning to do this discussion on the assignment is, so I'll tell you the approach by which we should solve a problem and how we should, what parts of the problem should be written first and how we should go on to complete the overall problem. All right. So let us begin. So the first question says that write a Python program that calculates the area of a rectangle given its length and width. So we'll assume that the length and width will be an input from the user. Okay, it is saying user inputs values, and also it is saying that you should prompt the user if he or she doesn't input a proper input. All right. So first of all, we have to take two inputs from the user. So we can say length equals to, and we'll say input, and we'll say enter length. Similarly, we'll say breadth is equals to, actually it is saying width, so I'll write width, width. Same thing, input. All right, so we have two inputs and we want to calculate the area. So we know area is, so we haven't done anything checking and all. So this length and width are strings now currently. All right. So we'll say length will be, sorry, area will be length times width. But first we have to convert this length and width into either integer or float. So let us consider that they'll enter um, some floating value. So we'll use the function float. All right. There is a function called float in Python. So what does that do? You see, I'll show you. So float float. So if you give some string, say 2.4 to it, so it will convert it into a decimal number. All right. So this is a function. Now we can do this checking of error using either try or except or if else. But since I had not given you this assignment when we had discussed try and except, we can use if else as well. All right. So if else will be a little bit tricky to do because try and except is easy. If the user inputs something wrong, then you can always raise an error or it will be an error. And then you can tell the user that you have not inputted a correct value. But if you do if and else, you have to consider few more cases. For example, what happens if the user enters negative number, or what happens if the user is not entering a number itself, if it is entering a string. So we will assume that the user input a positive number. If it is a negative number, we can handle by other elif cases. Okay, so what we'll do is we have taken a string from the user, which is length, and another string, which is width. All right. Now, first we'll check if this length and width are uh, you see, proper numbers. All right. So we'll create a method. We'll create a function to check if this input is correct or not, and we'll say check. We'll send this both length. So check is a method on length comma width. And since we are calling check over here, so we should define check before this. So we'll say def check. It takes two inputs. Okay, length len gth. You take two input L and W, and what it will try to do is it will check if these two are appropriate. Now you see, if you say int, so when I'll say int and I say 2.4, then it will not give me a floating point 2.4, it will give me 2. All right. So we'll have to use float. But in case we are using float, there is no function in Python to check if it is a floating point number. So I don't know if there is a function or not, but I know about a function called isdigit. What does that function do? So I'll show you what does that function do. Sorry. there is a function called isdigit. So it does it. It will give you. So first of all, you'll have to say 1.isdigit, and then you'll have to give a parenthesis, and it will give you. Okay. Let me do it like this. So say a equals to 1 and e dot isdigit. Let me check what and how does we call this function isdigit. Okay, it should be a string. So this isdigit checks for a string. So whenever you give it a string and say dot isdigit, then it will tell you if it is a digit or not. It shouldn't be a string. So I'll just write this in inverted commas and I'll say a dot isdigit and it will give me digit. Okay. Now it is saying true. All right. So we can do this now. When you give it a floating point number 2.4, what it does, you can see. So I'm saying 2.4 and it will give me false. So actually isdigit is checking if a number is integer or not. It is not checking for float. All right. And I don't know if there is a function called isFloat or not. Maybe it is there, but I know about this function. So how can we go about this? What can we do is if a user gives me a floating point number, I can remove this point, this decimal point from the number using. We can use many things. There is a function called replace, and I guess we have talked about this function. You can go and check replace in Python. So what does it do is it replaces some character in a string with another character which you want to use. So you see, you'll just copy this and I'll show you what this replace does. So I have a string called I like bananas and it is saying text dot replace bananas to apples. So it will just replace bananas with apples. All right. So this we will do. We'll replace this decimal point with nothing. It will replace this with an empty string. All right. So we can do that. So we have two values, length and width. So we'll do for both of it. All right. So we'll say L is equals to L dot replace and we'll say replace dot by nothing. Right? We can do it. Now what we can do is now you see we have replaced L with another string which is replacing the decimal point. Similarly, we'll do this for W. So W is equals to W dot replace and the same thing. So we'll replace decimal point with nothing. Now we have two strings. For sure, those two strings will be a string, but that string will be a number if it is a number. So we'll have to check if it is a number or not. All right. If it is a number, then it will be true. And if it is not a number, if it's something else like a string, in this case, you can check txt. So we'll say print. We can check txt dot isdigit. And it will say false because txt over here is I like bananas or after replacement. So after replacement, it is stored in X. So txt will be I like bananas, but I like bananas is not a digit, so it will give me false. All right, so it is giving me false. So you can check if it is a number or not by this. So you can say if L dot is digit and sorry and W dot is digit. So this will be this is true, this is true, so we'll return true. All right, okay, yeah, return true, else return false. Any questions? Okay, true, P capital. Any questions? Return.
No, no.
So we can store this in another string, or we can not store it. We'll just give a condition. If this return value equal to true, then we'll calculate area is equals to just length into breadth. But we have not converted into this. So we'll say float length times float breadth. All right. Or width float. And then we'll just print. We'll say print f string area is, and I'll say area. All right. Now we have to give a proper comment to the user saying that you have not entered a correct or proper input. So we'll say not a proper input, or anything else you want to say. It's just a
I have a question. Sorry to interrupt.
yes, yes,
So if we
yes,
replace
sure.
this dot with nothing, so in case of, for example, if we put this string 2.4, will it become
Yes,
24?
yes, it will become 24, but this function is only trying to check if 24 is a number or not. It is
Okay,
not
okay, okay.
calculating area or not.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Right. Now, if you do this and it is saying enter length, so I'll give 3.2 and breadth 1.2, and it will give me the area. All right. Not very difficult. You have to have some ideas of the functions which we have. If you don't have those ideas, then it will be difficult for you to implement this error checking. But you can do all of this without using this cumbersome checking if you use try and accept. So it becomes very easy when you use try and accept. What you have to do, you have to say try, and you will just convert the string to an integer. If there is some error, or not integer, you can convert it into float. And if there is some error, the accept will catch it and you can print it that not a proper input or something like that. All right. So even or odd?
One doubt, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in that L dot replace W dot replace, we are getting only
Yes.
the L and W value as string only. Am I right?
Yes.
And then S digit L dot S digit and W dot S digit will return the value as
True if
true.
it is a digit, and false if it is not a digit.
Okay.
So
Okay, sir.
when this is true and this is true, when both are true, then only we are
Both
returning
are
true.
true, it will
Otherwise,
get true. So then in your another check function, when we call it, it will get converted into float.
uh, yes, over here we are converted into float.
Typecasting is done and it gets converted to float.
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir.
All right. Now we have a problem saying write a program that takes a input from the user, an integer input, and gives if the number is even or odd. All right. So what we'll do is we will do this, but we will use a very structured programming approach. All right. What will we do? We'll first write a main program, main, and we'll take an input from the user. All right. So we'll say before that we can give some proper input. So we'll say that this is the program to check. This is a program to check if a number is even or odd. All right. Now we'll just print get a number from the user. So we'll say number is equals to input. Now again, you see we have to prompt the user if the input is not suitable. So what we can do is we can just remove this and we can give we will take the input from another function which is doing the error checking. So we'll say um, get number. It is a function. All right. So before that we have to define a function called get. So we'll say define get number, and we'll come back to it. So we'll say pass for now. All right. So we'll say pass. So we have some function which is taking some input from the user as well as it is checking some things, but we have a number in the main function. We have a number called number. All right. Now we'll again call a function which will so I can write result equal to and I'll check. So it will be check even or odd. So I'll say even odd, and this function I'll pass the number. All right. So in this function, I'm not passing anything because it is just taking some user input and nothing is to be passed. But for check odd, we should pass the number for which we are checking. So we'll define one more function called def check. So this is a very good problem solving approach. So what are you doing? You're not bothering about the functions itself, get number, check odd number. These are called abstractions. So about this idea, abstraction idea, we had talked about this in our first class where we were using the Scratch environment. So we're not worried about what this get number will do, what the check even odd function will do. We are just implementing our function as it is. We'll implement the function afterwards, but we are saying we'll build the building block of the program. So these are the things we have to do, and we'll do the lower level things afterwards. So we'll say check even odd. I'll write over here, and I can say number because we have talked about this. The name of the variables can be same because those are in two different scopes. So it doesn't matter if you say number n or anything else. This number will not get affected. All right. Now we have a result, so we can say if uh, result. So if it is true, then it will be true, and we can say print. Or we do not need to store the either true or false in result because we're just using it in our next line and we won't use it afterwards. So we can just remove everything and we'll just cut and I'll paste it over here. If true, then we'll say print number is even. And if you want to say which number, so you can just use f string. I'm not doing it. And else print number, sorry, number is odd. Now you see we have not called main yet. So I'm saying we have not called main yet. So if you run this program, nothing will happen because we have not called main yet. So you have to call main. And in the last class, I couldn't properly explain what this is. So it is if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equal to, and you have to give a inverted commas and say underscore underscore main underscore underscore. If this is true, then you only call main. Otherwise, no need to call main. So what does this mean? So you see over here, we are using a notebook, but in generally you will write this code in a .py file. So when you have a .py file and you implement this function or this program over there, and if you write this, if underscore underscore name equals to underscore underscore main, actually this underscore underscore in Python, it is called as dun. So it doesn't matter. So what does it do is, so suppose this whole program we have named this as check event.py file. Now, whenever you run check event.py from the command line or from the user interface, visual user interface, if you're running that program, then this if statement will be true. What does it mean? That you are running that program in which this code is there. So you're running the program itself, and then only whatever is inside this if block will run. So we inside this if block, there is a call to main. But instead of that, from another program, you are calling this file. So this file is actually named as, suppose the file name is, so I'll say suppose the file name is even checker .py. So we have named this file as even checker.py. And from another program, I want to call this function check even odd. So we can do that by importing import. We'll have to say even checker, checker. And after that, when you want to use this function check even odd, what it will do is you have to write even underscore checker. Okay, I have written check. So even check dot this function. And when you write that over here and you pass a number because it accepts an argument, so you have to give a number, suppose anything 6. So when you run this and you have this file in the same directory as this file, both the files are in the same directory. So what it will do is it will just run this function and it will not run main because main is not called. But instead of this, if you have written main like this, main call like this, then main would also be run. So when you run this code, in that case, main will also get run. But instead of like this, you have written like this. So it is saying that if you are running this program, check underscore, sorry, event underscore check dot py, then only run main. So this line means that. All right. I hope I'm clear this time. I was not clear last time. Understood? Any questions?
Yes, I understood. Is it
Alright, so
mandatory to give this?
no, it is not mandatory to give. So it is required when you using the functions in some other. So
On
using
the,
the function as a module in some other program, in that case it is required. But it is a good practice to do this.
okay.
All right. So get a number you can do. Even check also you can do. So even check is just modulus pi 2 equal to 0. And even check. So we can do this only. So if this is a digit, return true. So I just copy it, return false. And instead of this, I'll say, okay, sorry, not here, over here. I'll just say if number dot is digit. Okay, so what I'm doing is, sorry. So I'll just take an input from the user first. So I'll say number is equals to input, enter a number. Right. So I'm taking an input from the user and then I'll check if number dot is digit. If this is true, then return number. All right. Else, what should I do? Else we shouldn't do anything. Else we can just say the user you're not entering properly. So print enter ent entered input is not a number. So I'll say input is not number. Now what I will do is I'll run a while loop. So I'll say while true, and I'll just break. Sorry, break, and we'll have to do like this. Okay, so what did we do? In this get number, we are running a while loop, which is always true until and unless we have hit break. Okay, so this will be an error because we are hitting break. So I'll just return this number afterwards. So I'll say return number. So what did we do? We are inside a while loop and we are asking the user for a number. If the number is a digit, then we will break. Otherwise, we'll print this that the input is not a number, and again it will ask for a number. Is it all right? And whenever it breaks, then it encounters the return statement and the number is returned. Is it all right?
So then when will the when this loop will get exit?
Whenever you hit break.
Okay.
Whenever the execution of the
Okay.
program comes to this line, then only it will
Okay.
break the loop.
Okay, sir. Okay.
All right. And for this, you can do it easily. So we'll say if number mod 2, sorry, mod 2 equal to 0, then return true. And else return false. So I'll say else return false. Right. I hope everything else I have done correctly. RETURN. Yeah, so it is asking for a number. I'll say S. So I'll say input is not a number and it is again saying enter a number. So I'll again say U. It is not a number. So when I say 3, what error did I encounter? not all arguments converted during string formatting. Which line? Main call, this call, and this call. Don't know what error I encountered. Just a minute. So if check number, not all arguments converted, type error. Okay, so we have not converted this number to integer, I guess, over here. No, but we have to convert it over here. Yes, yes. So when we are returning this number, so we should return an integer number. What error did I make? Did you understand? You see what error we made over here. This number dot isdigit is actually checking that if the number is a digit or not, but it is not converting the number to an integer. If it is not converting a number to integer, and when we were returning just the number, so it was returning a string and not a number. Did you see the mistake I made?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So now when I'm returning an integer number and not some random or not a string. Now I guess it will run. So when I say 6, so I'll get number is okay. When I return 9, so number is odd. All right. Again, if I say suppose 8, then it should say number is even, and the problem is solved. So these simple mistakes can be encountered, but you have to find what error you are making. By the way, Python's errors are very useful. So if you say number and when you do like this, you see it is saying type error. So it is very clearly mentioning there is some error in typecasting or the type of the you not typecasting. So the type of the data you are using and you are doing something, it is not correctly happening. So you can see Python's this errors are very user friendly as compared to other languages. All right. Now you have to implement a count character. So what does it say? Write a program that counts the number of characters in a user entered string. You can either use Python built-in function. So we have a function called len. So you can say s. So I'm not writing like this, but you should write your programs like this. All right. First you write main and you think that all the functions are already defined. We don't need to bother about that, and then come back and write the functions. All right. It is a good practice to do like this. So I'll just say input, enter a string, and when the user has entered a string, I'll just count the number of characters by saying len. So I'll say print len s. So this can be done. So I'll say this is a test message and it will give me the length. Moreover, you can also use your own counter. So you can do that by for. So I'll say I in s and I'll say count is equals to 0. And for I in s, what I will get, it will get each character of the string. So I'll say count plus equal to 1. And then I'll print the length of the string. So I'll say count. So it is a very simple implementation. What I'm doing, I'm taking each character in the string and I'm incrementing the variable count by 1 and then I'm printing. So it will just print the same thing. This is a test message. It will say 18. All right. So this is also 18 and this is also 18. Is this all right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now this is
No,
also
sir.
very, yes.
So the space also is counted, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So you can do, so what you can do is, so you can just replace spaces. So some formatting is needed. So what you can do is s dot strip. So some functions are there, s dot strip. So what will this do? This will strip the leading and ending spaces in the string. Moreover, for if you want to count just the characters, like just so if you want to remove everything like comma or any special character, so what you can do is you can just do it very easily by, you see, we have s, so we'll say s1 is equals to nothing. So this is an empty string, and we can say for s in, and I'll define one string. So it will be ap. First of all, I'll just say s dot. So over here, first what I have done, I'll taken the user input and stripped it. So no spaces in front of the string or in the end of the string. Moreover, I'll convert it into lowercase. So I'll say s dot lower, and everything is in lowercase. All right. Now what I will do is I'll say for I in, no, sorry. What I will do for I in s, yes. So I'm taking each character in this new string, which is stripped with spaces. Moreover, there is no uppercase. I'll say if I in, and I'll give a string a, b, c, d, e, f, g, h, I, j, k, l, m, n, o, p, q, m, n, o, p, q, r, s, t, u, v, w, x, y, z. So I've given all the characters, 26 characters. I'll say s1 is equals to s1 plus I. All right. So in this case, what it is doing is it is checking if this character from the string s is in this string or not. If it is there in this string, then it will just append, or sorry, not append, concatenate to the existing string s1. All right. And then we will check. So what we'll do is I'll just print s1 and I'll say s like this. And over here also I'll say s1 space comma. Okay. And this count will check s1. All right. So what I have done, I'm also checking the length of s, and I'm also checking the length of s1. And for count, I'm just implementing for s and not s. Sorry, just implementing for s1 and not s. So I'll just do, this is a test message, and I'll give some spaces. Not full stop. I'll give some space. All right. You see, s is actually 26 characters. But S1 is 13. Why 26? Strip is not stripping. Let me see. strip in Python. Strip. Text buff strip. It should strip. Why 26 then? Can anyone help me why S is taking 26? I am saying S dot strip.
I have used in my assignment, but I used to assign this value to another variable and use that variable.
String.
I never used like this.
Okay, I guess then S is not. So I guess what it happening is, so it is just returning a value. So you can do that by saying, what is the return value? So you can say strip, strip, and you can just check. So what is the return value of this? You can check. So it is actually returning a string and not actually modifying the existing string. All right. So you will have to say s is equals to this. Now, when you do this, and moreover, I should check for lower also. I guess lower doesn't do that. Dot lower. Okay, so lower is also returning. So you have to assign s is equals to s dot lower. I guess the return value of this, so it is not modifying. Okay, why will it modify? Because string is immutable. So if string is immutable, so this function will not modify the existing string. You have to store it to some other string, right? It is my mistake. So strings are immutable. So these functions are actually returning the modified string and not actually modifying the existing string. So in that case, this is my mistake. So this is a sample message with some spaces. Now it is correct. All right. So you should remember that string is immutable. Thank you for reminding me. All right. So any more doubt, ma'am? Any more doubt?
Sir, second question, I have used exception handling for finding out the
Yes.
number is integer or not. It is
Yes.
okay only, no, right?
Yes. Yes. No problem. So I'm
Okay,
just
thank you.
telling this without try and accept because we had not discussed try and accept when we were doing this, when I had given you this assignment. But now you know try and accept and you can use try and accept easily.
Yeah.
All right.
After that, it was taught, so I used it.
Yes, after the this assignment, try and accept was discussed. All right. Now this is actually simple. So yeah. So this is actually simple. You have to take a input and just give if, elif, and else condition. And once more, you have to check if the user has inputted a correct value. So it should be a number and we have done that. So I'm not doing it here. And if you want me to do, then you can tell me, I'll just go ahead. So it is just checking if the score is in between 90 or 80 or 80 or 70 and so. So should I discuss this?
No, sir, I
No,
think
sir.
it's simple.
All right. So this simple calculator, this is also simple. So you'll take two inputs from the user and you will check if the input is suitable or not. We have done that. And then you can give some um, choices. So either addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division by giving either the signs itself or 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can do if else, or you can call functions. So you can create addition function, you can create subtraction function and just pass the two values to those functions and get the return value and then print it. All right. Is it all right?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess it
Yes,
is not
sir.
all right. So Ram Prakash was not very clear. Should I do it? I don't have an issue doing it.
Because I've done that. So I
Not
thought
like this.
maybe if we can discuss the solution, then maybe I can get a better solution than me from you.
So what solution have you done? So I can just go and check. If you want me to do that, I can do that also. Just not here, sorry.
I've used the other
Calculator.py, yeah. So you're saying press A for addition, press S for subtraction, M for multiplication, and D for division. And you are again, why are you converting it to str? Because it is already an str. This
okay.
line is not required.
Okay.
Now you are taking inputs. Where is the input? Number 1 and number 2?
No, I've taken the first step itself.
First, okay, huh, yeah. So this is not a proper way to do. So you see, what have you done? You had doing the same thing again. So for here also try and accept you have done, and you are just copy pasting your code over here. This is not a good practice in coding. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever you are just copying and pasting some code, it is not a good thing to do. What you have to do,
Mm-hmm.
you have to create a function and then call that function.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So pasting a copy and pasting a code is not correct, because if you want to change
Mm-hmm.
something over here later on, you have to do it in every places you have done. But when you create a
Mm-hmm.
function, you have to do it just one place. All right.
Okay.
This is done. So and you're saying if this or this, then okay. So this is correct. Yeah, this is
Okay.
correct. Yes. So now this is also very easy. You have to run two loops. So I'll just show you what it does. So I'll say for and outer loop and inner loop. You see, you have to see which loop is running. So this is the first row, this is the second row, this is the third row, and this is the fourth row. And in this fourth row, only number 4 is being used. All right. So for the row number, you have to use the row number. So this is the first row, number 1 is used, second row, number 2 is used, and so on. So for each loop, the row is being used. And when you write two loops, you can make one loop as the row and the other loop as the column. So you can say for I in range, you can take user input, but over here I'm just saying 5. And you can say for j, or I'll just write j, but I'll show you why we don't need j in range. And you see, when row is 1, column is also 1. When j is 2, column is also 2, and so on. So I'll say range I. Why? Because whenever whatever is the value of I, okay, so we have to start with 1. So I'll say 1 comma 5. And over here, it doesn't matter. I'll show you why it doesn't matter. And what we have to do is print I. At first, let me run it. And one more thing we have to do, we have to say end equal to nothing. Sorry, 1. Okay. And you have to say print. Now this will work. You see what I did and some of the things you can do to modify the code. You have run one loop I from 1 to 5, and I'm making this I as the rows. So this is the first row. I'm using I there. This is the second row. I'm using I value, and so on. So these are my rows. All right. So these are my rows. And these are my columns. But we are not using this value j anywhere. So instead of this j, you can say an underscore. What does it mean? It is just a placeholder for that loop. So you don't require that value and you are saving some memory. All right. So you are not storing that value in some place. You're just saying the loop will run, but I don't need the value. So you can give an underscore. Now, since we don't need the value, we just need it to run for I number of times. That is why I did not write 1 comma I plus 1. It was not needed. All right. Is it all right? Now, for each row, so whenever you are in J, so inside I and inside J, you are in one individual cell. And when the J loop runs, you go into the next column of the same row. So whenever you are going in the next column of the same row, you don't need a backslash n. That is why I have given end is equals to nothing. But whenever the column is finished, you have to have a backslash n. And for that, I have given just a print nothing. All right. And therefore, I'm getting 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. And if you want to do like this, you'll just say backslash n and there will be 2 enters and you will get exactly this. It doesn't matter. This and this are the same thing. So this was important. What is underscore? And yeah, is this clear?
Yes, sir. But I also saw one way where we can do multiple prints using that asterisk sign inside the print function. Inside
Okay,
the
so you are
print.
saying,
Uh,
yeah, you can do that, but so have you used that code
yes.
pattern? Okay, so what it is doing, you see over here, what it is doing is it is not running two loops. So this is a better code than what I just wrote. All right. So what it is doing is it is not using the second column. Why? Because you need the columns, but you don't need to run the loop because we have a operator called asterisk. So you see, when you do asterisk to a string, so I'll just say a, and when you write a asterisk 3 or 2, something 3 or 2, so it will be repeated some number of times, right? So it is using that logic. So what we are doing is we'll take I, we'll convert it to string str. Now we'll just multiply it with I. What it is doing, you see, because this asterisk repeated becomes a concatenation. And how it is doing, it is using that concept of object. If you go back and see, so this is an operator and this operator is defined like that. So whenever you say asterisk to a string and one side is a string and the other side is an integer, so concatenation happens like this. All right. So it takes the value of I and converts it into a string. So this is a string and this is an integer. and the value starts from 1, it becomes 2, it becomes 3, and so on. And when you do this and just remove this, so this print statement automatically adds a backslash n. So you don't need a backslash n also. So each time the loop runs, it will print the string and give a backslash n. Then for 2, it will run and give a backslash n. For 3, it will run and give a backslash n, and so on. So this will also work. You see, same thing. Right, so I'll just copy this. I'll give both the solutions here for better clarity. All right. So any doubt? So yeah, this is a better code than what I wrote. Why? Because the complexity of the code is less. So we'll talk about complexity a little bit later. But you see over here, you're just running one loop. But over here, I am running two loops. All right. But you have to know what is the complexity of this. So you are converting into a string and then doing this asterisk. So what is the complexity of this operation? You don't know exactly. You have to check. In that case, I guess this will become more efficient code than this. If the complexity of this is more than the for loop. So there is something called O notations. In that you can get what is the complexity of an algorithm. All right. And if you don't know what is the, it is called actually running time, but not in terms of time unit, in terms of number of operations. Then we will see. We'll see that. Yeah. Any doubt, ma'am?
No, sir. Actually, the first code, the complexity will be based on number of times I and j iterates.
Yes, it's
In the
n
second
square.
one,
It's
the number
actually
of
n square.
number
The
of times I
complexity of
and
this is
j
n
loop
square.
execute. No, sir. That will be the print statement execution.
Yes, but we don't know the
Whereas
complexity of this.
here is I times it iterates, but within that I times the print operation involves a computation. So that also will take computing time.
Yes, ma'am. But you see, print is over here as well. But I'm saying we don't know the complexity of this operator, asterisk, right?
But asterisk I is there, no, sir. Multiplication operation is there.
No, this is not multiplication operator, ma'am.
What multi-
This this is not a multiplication operator. This will actually call a function inside the object str, and then that function will run underscore underscore whatever the function name is. And whatever the complexity of that function is, that complexity will come over here, and then we have to multiply it by n. So we
Yeah,
don't know
that's
the complexity of this operation.
but function call will happen, right?
Yes, a function call will happen, and we don't know the complexity of that function. It may be worse performing than what we have written over here. All right. So actually, my thesis work is based on algorithms, and I am designing some algorithm for a problem. So I have learned about complexity a little bit, not a little bit, a significant amount. Yeah. So, all right. So any more questions over here?
No,
No,
sir.
no, sir.
And in this question, actually, I have not given correct, proper definition. You see, one mistake I made. The question is actually not proper. So it is saying create a program that takes a student test score. This is correct. And I told the number of students, but it shouldn't be the number of students. It should be the score of all the students in the class. And in that case, only you can perform this code. Otherwise, it will not work because it is actually the logic of percentile. So for a percentile, you should know the score of every student, and then only you can calculate what is the percentile of each student and then give grade. So what I will do is when I check, I will not check this part, or I'll just give grace marks, but I'll show you what the idea of this code is. All right. So it should be a test score for the student for which you want to calculate the grade, and the test score for all the students. Unless and until you have the test score for all the students, you will not be able to calculate what is the percentile of each student. Right. So this mistake I made over here. Now for a percentile, you see, I have written it in reverse. So generally percentile of 99% is very good. And so 99 percentile is better than 98 percentile, which is better than 97 percentile, and so on. But over here, I've given it in reverse. All right. So you have to be careful when you calculate the percentile of that student. So how to calculate percentile actually? So if you search in net percentile formula. So what is the idea before going into percentile? What is the idea of this thing? So suppose we have some students and we have this score. So 23 and 45 and 67 and 89, 82 and so on. These are some of the scores of the students. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 scores. Now you see what this is actually a relative grading. What it does, it makes the highest score as the 100th percentile and the lowest score as the 0th percentile. All right. And then we say, so we have 6 students. So whatever the top 10, so we have 6 students. Suppose we have 60 students. For 60 students, we'll say if 10% of the top students, so top 10% gets A, so the highest 6 students will get A because 10% of 60 is 6, and then the top 6 student, whatever their score is, but those top 6 student will get A grading. The next 25 students, 25% of the 60 per 60. So what is 25% of 60? It will come to 15. So the next 15 students, whatever their score is, but those 15 students will get a grade of B and so on. So that is the idea of what you have to employ when you do this. So percentile comes from there. So you don't need to go into what percentile is, but you can use that idea and implement the code. It is just logic. Otherwise, this program is not difficult. It is just if else condition and some calculation of the percentile, and that's it. Any doubt? So have you understood what I meant by 6 students out of 60 is top 10 students and so on?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. So some neat. So when you do this code, so I have seen Kalyamani ma'am's code for this problem, and I saw that she has written huge code. And I don't think so many lines of code was required when you are coding it with Python. When I saw her code, I thought that she was employing the idea of other languages. So in other languages, you need to have precisely written everything. But in Python, you can do many things in just one line of code. So like list comprehension. So it is not required over here. I'm just saying if you use those ideas, you can compress your code a lot. All right. So ma'am, you can go back and you can see what you have done and then maybe try to
Yes,
write
sir.
a concise
Actually,
code for the
as you
same
said,
problem.
I was not very clear in that question. That is one problem I had. And I have to optimize the code. That is the last question I attended. Due to time shortage, I've uploaded as such.
Okay, ma'am. No problem. I'm just suggesting some
Okay, sir.
feedback
Fine,
maybe.
sir. Fine.
Okay. So what it will do is we will take some user input. So what user input we have to take? We have to take 2 user inputs. First, the score of all the students because that is required first. And then the student for which you want to calculate the grade. And you have to check if the input is appropriate or not. You can do that. We have discussed it earlier codes. And when you have both of these, then all the student score and the score of the individual student, then you can calculate at what position the student is. So if the student is in the top 10th position or top some position, and then you can say, okay, so he is coming in the range of the next 25 students. So he will get a B score, something like that. All right. So this is the idea of this code. So should I write the code or should I just leave it?
Maybe you can write. It's
Okay.
better for us to understand.
Okay, so we'll say, first of all, we'll say our main function. So what it will do is it will just get some user input. So I'll say, um, so what I'll do is I'll say, let me make a list. So I'll say list or I'll say student, all student. I'll say all student. All right. And I'll give it a empty list. Now what I'll do, I'll say all students dot append and I'll say get student score. SCO core. So this is a function which is called get student score, and it gets the student's score. It does what it says what it does. All right. So I'll just write one more function over here. Def get student score. All right. And it just gets the student score, and we'll implement this function. Um, Let me do this. Right. So we'll take this function and just write it over here. Now for so what I'm doing is for all the students, I'm calling this function. So for that, I'll say print, tell me how many students are there. So number of students in the class. All right. So I'll take the number of students in the class, and I'll say for nothing in range, and I'll take it as input from the user. Right. And cast it into int. And I'll say n is equals to this, and I'll say n. Now I'll take. So what I'm doing is I'm first taking the user input as how many students are there in the class. Then I'm casting it into an integer, and I'm passing it into n. So you can always check if this is an integer or not. But I guess you can do that or not, maybe. Now for all the students, I'm taking some input from the user. Give me the marks. So enter the marks. All right. And I'm appending it to the list all students. So we'll get a list with the scores of the students. All right. This is all right. Is this all right? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now we have the score of all the students. Now we can say print, or yeah, print. I'll say enter the students marks to get the grade. And I'll say full stop, and I'll say sorry. And I'll say marks is equals to get student score. All right. So when you do this, you will get the student score. Now just pass it to a function and get the grade. So grade equals to get grade. And I'll define one more function called get grade. Def get grade. All right. So we have got the grade, and we'll print it. So we'll say print the grade of this student is, and you can say comma grade, or use f string, doesn't matter. All right, so this is done, and I'll have to call main. So I'll just write main. Now we have to run this, implement this function. So first of all, you see, moreover, to this function, you have to pass this list and the marks. So you will have to pass this list and the marks. Then only you can get the grade. All right. So it will accept a marks M and a list L. Right. Now you have to implement this grade. So first of all, this list will have the data of how many students are there. So we can store it in a function called total students equal to len of L. All right. So this will tell me how many students are there. Now to see that where the students lies, what you can do is you can say, so you see, you have the marks of the student. So suppose I'll create a list over here for clarity. So this is the list. So I had created a list. I erased it. All right. So I'll say import random dot random and do it. Don't worry what I'm doing, I'll tell. Suppose 20. And see a dot append this and say print a. So what did I do? So I'll say this multiplied by 100. Yeah. So what did I do is, and I can round it as well. ROUND round comma 2. Okay, I have. Okay. So it will be comma 2. So what did I do over here? You see, I imported a random module and I created an empty list. And I am saying we have 20 students and I called random.random. So what does it do is it gives me a random value between 0 and 1. All right. So this random.random gives me a random value between 0 and 1. So that is why I have multiplied it by 100. And this round function actually rounds that value to any number of decimal places. You have to pass the number of decimal places. So I say make it into 2 decimal places. So this thing will actually give me the value or the any number which is between 0 and 100 rounded to 2 decimal places. So that is what we are getting. And I'm appending it to a list called A. So this is the list I'm getting. So it is very simple. You don't have to make the list of 20 students. So over here, you can just say 100 and you will get a list of 100 students with these marks. All right. So this is just a simple way. So you can use Python in day-to-day life also if you want to generate something and do that. All right. So yeah, we have a list now. So suppose we had 100 students. So these are the marks of each of the student. Now you can do 3 things. First, to see what are the top 10 students, you can just sort this list. If you sort this list, you will always, so I'll just do it for you. So I'll say print sort A and I'll just comment this out. Sorry, sorted, I guess. Yeah. So you see, you are getting this as the lowest marks and getting this as the highest marks. Now you can do very simple mathematics. You don't need to have the idea of what is percentile and anything else. You don't need that. You see, you know the length of L. So it is 100 students. Now top 10% means 10 students. So if the marks of the student lies or if the marks of the student is in these 10 students, so that student will get A. If the next 25, so suppose so this is 100 students, so next 25 student is this much. If that marks is in this range 94.8 to 72.1, not range, in this list, so you have to create some list. So for the first 10 students you'll have to create a list, next 25 students you'll have to create a list, and next 25 or so on, you will create 4 or 5 lists, and then you will check. So should I do it or this explanation is all right? Hello.
This is okay for me, sir.
All right, so we have a sorted marks. Again, I'll just give an idea. So the top 10 students will be these students. The next 25 students will be these students and so on. So if that marks, whatever the entered marks is in these list, then that grade that student will get. That is it. You don't need to calculate what percentile the score of the student is. Is it all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I hope this was clear. I have not implemented it completely, or I'll just say pass. I'll just say pass. Right. Now temperature conversion, this is simple. I don't need I think I don't need to do this because you'll just take a user input and there is some um, expression to calculate from Fahrenheit to Celsius and from Celsius to Fahrenheit. For factorization, you need to know the mathematics of factorization. So instead of me going line by line, if you have any doubt, you can tell me, yeah, we can go to that problem and do, because I think it is taking some time. So I need to, maybe I'll do assignment 2 tomorrow, and then we'll go to algorithmic efficiency on Monday. Right. So we can do only assignment 1 today and assignment 2 tomorrow. So should I discuss factorization?
No, sir.
All right. So factorization, just I'll give you an idea. What you have to do is you will get a number from the user and you will start from 0. So not sorry, not 0. You'll start from 2. So you can see if the number is divisible by 2. If it is, then you take it as a factor. Now, when that user input number is divisible by a number, in the next iteration, you have to divide that number. Okay, I'll just show you what I'm telling. So suppose the user input is number. I'll just take any generic thing. So it is a number and you have to start with some divisor. So divisor is equals to 2. So you have to start with 2. Now you have to check if number modulo 2 equal to 0. If this is, then this divisor. So I'll write divisor. If divi. So if this is actually true, if this statement is true, then this is actually a divisor and you have to store it. So you can store it in a list or anywhere you want, or you can just print it in the console. So you shouldn't print it because there may be multiple divisors. So suppose you have 8. So 8 can have 2 into 2 into 2. So there are 3 number of 2's for 8. So in that case, whenever this statement is true, number modulo divisor equal to true, you have to modify number. What should you do? You should say number is equals to number by divisor. Why you have to do this? You see, if you have 8, so 8 modulo 2 equal to 0. And whenever this is true, in that case, you shouldn't change the divisor. If this is true, then the divisor should remain as it is. For example, if you have 8 modulo 2, which is actually doesn't give a reminder, so then 8 should change. So it will become 4, but the divisor 2 should remain 2. So you have two cases. So this, if this is true, else. So if you have, so you have to say if this is true, and else you say divisor plus 1. Okay, so this is what you should do. I think the idea is clear. Is the idea clear? Hello.
Yes, somewhat okay.
I don't think it is clear. All right. So um, you see,
Because
I'll just
I thought this is some my approach was a little bit different. So
yeah, you can use different logic as well. It doesn't matter. You have to get the factors of a number, right? So whenever that divisor or that factor is actually a factor, you have to store that factor. So I've not stored it here. You have to store the factor and then modify the number, because if you change the divisor at that time point, so it may happen that that divisor may again divide the number, right? So for example, 8, and if you're starting with 2, then 2 divides 8, and again 2 divides 8, and again 2 divides 8. So there are 2 or 3 2's for 8, right? So if
okay.
it is a
So you are
divisor, if it is a divisor, modify the number. If it is not a divisor, then modify the divisor. This is what it is doing.
okay, sir.
Now, if it is not clear, you can tell me. I'll just implement the whole program. If it is clear, then I'll move.
Maybe my approach is wrong, or it's inverse of what you are doing.
So
Um,
what idea did you implement for getting the factors of a number?
So
Do you want me to check? Okay.
yes,
So you are going from 2 to that number plus 1, right?
yes.
But this is not a prime checker. We are not checking if the number is prime or not.
No, if it is a prime number, then we'll have only that number and one as a factor. So if it
Ah,
is
yes,
not
yes.
prime, then we'll go and check for other numbers, other factors.
Okay, so this is implementation of checking it is a prime or not, right?
Yes,
But
yes,
but you see this function doesn't have a return statement. Why? Okay, you are just printing it. All right.
yes.
And you're saying that this is the number. If number equals to 0, no factor, number 1, 1, 2, and you're implementing something here. So you're saying limit is equals to number by 2 plus 2.
Just to mean anyway, if we are calculating, finding the factor of 10, it cannot be more than 5. So I'm just limiting the number of iterations to less than half.
Yeah, you can do that.
So
Yes.
that's for that, and then going into a loop.
Okay, yeah, okay, yes. So this is also an algorithm to check. So you are checking if number is dividing it by 0, and you are checking if that is a prime factor or not. All right. And if it is a prime factor, then what would you do?
Uh,
You will print it, right? One of
yes.
the prime factors of a number is this, right? Okay, yeah, this will work. But what happens if you implement 8? So suppose the number is 8 and you're checking for 2.
Mhm.
If the number is 8 and you're checking for 2, in that case, one loop will run for 2.
Yes.
And the number will increase to 3, right?
Yes.
The factor will increase to 3. So in that case, you will only get 1, 2,
Yes.
matlab one count of
Yes.
2, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Understood, right? You cannot modify factor every time. You have to check if you should modify the factor or not. Are you getting it?
Um,
You see,
yes.
I'll just show you what mine means. All right, so it will be better. I'll just show you immediately. You see. So what I am saying is, you see. So I'll just do some coding. Maybe it is better. So you see, when I say 8 modulo, so I have number as 8. All right, and divisor as 2. So I'll start with 2. Now, what I will do is I'll check if this is true. So I'll do 8 modulo 2 equal to 0, which is actually
Mhm.
true, right?
Yes.
Now, in this case, whenever this is true, it may happen that 2 is again a divisor of the number after dividing. So how will you check if it is again a divisor? So first you divide that number by 2, so get 4. So what you will get? You will get 4. All right. Now you have
Mm-hmm.
to check if this 4 is a divisor of, so 4 can be divided by 2 or not. So if 2 is a divisor of 4 or not, you have to check that. Otherwise,
Why,
if
why,
you
why we
increase,
need to check?
so if you
If
don't check and increase, so what are you doing?
um,
At each iteration, you're increasing factor. So in the next iteration, you will do 8 modulo 3, and you will check if
mm-hmm.
it is 0 or not. Again, it will do 8 modulo 4.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, you're getting 4 as a factor of 8. But how will you get the factors of 4 then?
But now we are
Whenever you say,
checking for number 8, right?
now you are saying that 4 is a factor of 2, right? But when
Yes.
you do factorization doesn't mean get all the factors. It means get the prime factors to the power of how many times it is repeated. So whenever you say factorization, it means you have to write only the prime factors of a number. And I have written it actually, prime factors of the number, right? So in this case, when it is 4, 4 is not a prime factor.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Okay.
understood, right? So when you say 2
Mm-hmm.
is a factor of this 8, 4 is again a factor of this 8, but 4 is not a prime factor of 8, right? 4 is just a factor of 8. 4 is not a prime factor of 8. Then you will increase 8 by, sorry, you will divide it by 5 and that's it. You'll not go further, right? 2, 3, 4, 5. You will not go further. That is what you have done in your code, right?
Yes.
So you will get only 1, 2 and nothing
Yes.
else, right?
Yes.
But 8 has 3 factors of 2. So 2 to the power 3. This is what the program wants. It wants you to write the prime factors of the number.
If you don't mind, can copy the code here and we'll see if it is working. Sorry, if it consumes time, we can.
No problem. No problem. Why should it be a problem? So we are here discussing things, right? If this works, it is good. So I say enter the number to find the factor 8. All right. So you see you are getting 1 as the prime factor, 2 as a prime factor, and 4 is a factor and 8 is a factor. But this program doesn't want you to write that. Create a program that factors a integer into its prime factors and displays them. So it wants you to write 2, 3 times.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay. So 2 into, it should be like 2 into 2 into 2.
2 into 2 into 2. Yes. Now you got it.
Okay. Actually, I didn't get the question properly.
All right. So palindrome checker. We have done this palindrome checker when we are discussing recursion. So in recursion, what we did is I'll just give you the logic. So I'll say x. Sorry. So if s is the string, I'll say if s0 equal to s of -1. This and I'll call the function again. So I'll say and whatever the name of the function. So suppose the name of the function is def p checker. And what it expects a string. So I'll say s and we'll say p checker. So it is a return statement. All right, return this and p check. What I should pass s but not 0. So I'll start with 1 till -1. So I'll give this and I should give a base case. What is the base case? The base case is if len of s equal to 0, or I can say equal to 0 and or len of s equal to 1, then return true. So this is the logic, else do this. This is the logic of prime checker when we are doing using the idea of recursion. So what it is doing, it is checking if the first digit and the last digit is same or not. And before that, you have to clean this string. So you have to remove the spaces in between the string and commas and all other characters. And we have done that, right? A, B, C, D, we did na? This. We have done this. We have cleaned the string, all right? So after cleaning the string, you have to implement this. What it is doing, first of all, the base case. So this is the base case. If the length of the string is 0 or 1, return that it is a palindrome. So obviously, if the string is just a one character A, then it is a palindrome. Or if it is an empty string, then it is a palindrome. All right. Otherwise, what you do, you check if the first character and the last character is same or not, and call the function again by removing the first and the last character. So I should not write comma, it will be colon. This idea is clear. Very simple program. I think it is not clear. Nobody is saying anything. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Very short code.
Yeah, but before that you have to also strip the string and all write it properly. Otherwise it will give an error, or not error, logical error will be there. So this is one implementation of palindrome. You can do that using loop as well. So for loop, what you have to do is for loop, I'll write for loop also. So this is for recursion. This is not a complete program, all right? So it is just an idea. So I'll just say using recursion. And I'll just comment it out because it is not a complete program, but it's just the idea. So if you have any doubt, you can stop me and ask, all right? Using loop. You can do that using loop as well. How you can do that using loop? You see, what you have to do. First of all, you will have to check if the first letter and the last letter is same or not in the loop. All right, so you have to run the loop, or you can say while loop. Why I'm using while loop? You see, you can just say s. So while, so if s is the string, s is the input string, something or input from the user, some input from the user, and you can just say s, and we'll modify s. At later time point, we'll say s is equals to s1 colon -1. So we are modifying s each time, and then the while loop will check if there is something there in the string or not. Moreover, if this string is empty, then we'll come out of the loop. But if we have only one character, so you see this character, suppose G is also a palindrome because it is one character, and individual characters are palindrome because there's nothing to check on either side. All right. So you have to create that base case also. So you have to say if len of s, sorry, len of s equal to 1, then break. Or if we have to check also, no, each time. So check equals to true or false. All right. And we'll say check equals to or not equals to, it will be true. All right. Now, what should I do? Mm, okay, I'll say clean the string. First of all, clean the string. I'm not doing it. I'm just saying you have to clean the string. And instead of false, what we can do is, all right, it should work. I should say else. Yeah. So I should say break, and else I'll say check equals to false. Let me see if this works. I'm just working with my logic. I don't think at first only I'll be correct. All right. So this is what we are doing. This is small c. Now, what are we doing? We have to check if s, this thing, if this thing, then check. Should I make it true? Okay, let it make it true. T true, true. Right. But in next iteration, else I'll say check equal 1 equal to check equals to false, and then I'll break. I guess this will work. So what we are doing, if I'm not doing it correctly, please tell me. All right, I guess this will work. So what did we do? First of all, I took an input from the user, which is s, and I made a check variable, which is false. Initially, it is false. Now I have run a while loop, which runs forever until and unless it encounters a break statement. All right. So first, the base case. If the length of the string is 1, then you say it is true. Okay, so this else shouldn't be there. Otherwise, it will create an issue. Yeah, now it will work. So if the length of the string is equals to 1, then check becomes true. All right. And we break. Otherwise, and if this is 0, s is actually 0, or we can say len also, you can say len of s. If the len of s is 0, then while will become, so it will break out of the while loop. So while false. So whenever there is while 0, it means while false. All right. And wherever there is not 0 and any other number, then while is true. All right. Now it will check if s of 0 equal to s of -1. If this is true, then I'm saying make check true, but we are not breaking here. So we are not breaking of the while loop. And if this is not true, then obviously break and make check false and print uh, not palindrome. So you say if check, say palindrome, palindrome, and else not palindrome. So what did we do? First, this will encountered. So if the last and the first characters are same, if it is true, then we make check true. But at each iteration, this check will be encountered because we are checking if this is equals to this. But before that, if the string becomes only one character long, then we break off the while loop and we say check is true. Else, if this is not true, then the else will actually make check false and then we'll break out and then it will print not palindrome. And at each iteration, I'm modifying s as 1 comma, not comma, 1 colon -1. So is this program all right, or some issue is there with this code?
I think it will work, sir. But is it maybe we can use the start stop step function on string and reverse it
Which
altogether
function?
in start
Yes, we
stop
can
and
do
step.
that. Yes. I am
And
showing
then
using loop. We
okay,
can
okay.
do a very simple thing. You see this
Mm,
equal to s, sorry, this -1. If you do this, then also it
yes.
will work. This is very simple check of palindrome, but I'm implementing a while loop to check palindrome. But
Okay, sir.
this is a
Okay.
very simple check of palindrome. We have discussed this also when we were discussing indexing and slicing of string.
Yes,
You can
yes,
reverse a string very easily.
yes, sir. Yes.
All right.
Yes, sir. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so rock, paper, scissors. So this is an interesting game and I hope you know about the game, but for this you need to have an idea of random module. And when we were discussing this or when I had given you this assignment, we had not discussed random module. All right. So yeah, so what you have to do, you have to take user input, and user input is will not use random module because that is from the user. But after taking user input, you should have a computer choice and that will come from a random module. So I'll show you what random module can do. So you say random, and there is a function, not a function, you can say inside this module called choice. And this choice actually takes a list. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what it will do is it will take any one element of this list and print it. So I'm not given print, but it will work. You see, it gives 4, it gives 3, it gives again 3, then 6, then 7, then I don't know, 3 is coming a lot of time, but yeah, it's their implementation of choice, not mine. All right, 5, 6. So it is randomly choosing between the elements of this list. All right. So this will be the choice from the computer. So computer will either choose rock, paper or scissor. From that list, it will choose one. And the user will choose either rock, paper or scissor. And then you have to make another function which will check if computer is uh, winning or the user is winning. And overall, in the main function, you have to keep the score. So you will have many functions. What functions you will have? You will have user input function. Input function. All right, I'm just saying pass for now. And then you will have computer choice function. Now you will have individual game function. So this will say if that individual game is win or loss. All right. So you will have to check if one has selected rock and the other has selected paper, then paper has won. So who has selected paper, you have to check. It's not difficult, just some if and else. And then you will have main. In this main, you will keep the scores. You will keep the score. You will also ask the number of game the user want to play. Ask the number of game the user want to play. And then at last, after this number of games is over, you have to check the overall winner. All right. And then you have to call main. Is it all right? So this is the whole solution of the problem. Not complete, but the idea framework. So one thing I have learned from my yeah. Anybody was unmuted?
So, I mean, in this implementation of this program, who will give the first input, sir? I mean, the computer will give the first input, or the user will give the first input?
No, the user. It is actually simultaneous game, but since the user shouldn't know what the input of the computer is, so you can take user's input first, but it doesn't matter. You have to hide the input of the computer. So you can take the user computer's input first, but do not show that to the user. Otherwise, the user will always win.
Yes. And also we can, if we take the user input first, then the computer will know what the user is giving input. Then it can also
No,
change the choice according to that.
no. Why will computer choose after seeing the user input? You will implement the program such that the computer is choosing randomly between rock, paper, and scissor. You just implement this random choice function in computer choice, right? The computer will randomly choose either rock or paper or scissor. That's it. It doesn't matter what the user inputs.
Okay.
This program is not intelligent to see what the user input is and then it will give, okay, I'll just win every time. We're not making this program so intelligent.
Okay.
We can do that. It can be a rigged game. Yeah, but we don't want to do that.
Okay, sir.
All right. So I was telling in my PhD, so one thing I have learned is how to think algorithmically. And that is very important. You see, you have to break down your problems into smaller chunks. So similar to what I have done over here. So I have first just written that there will be a function called user input. I don't know how to implement it. Maybe later on I'll think, but there should be a function called user input. There should be a function called user choice. There should be a function called each game, which will only check if that game is a win or lose and who wins. And therefore, this breaking down of chunks of a bigger problem makes it very easy to keep track and solve individual problems. Moreover, if you have any error in one block of your problem, not programmatically, I'm just checking logically also. So actually, when I write algorithms, so generally I write that mathematically. So all those are mathematical. Maybe you can think of it as a pseudocode, but algorithms are generally written mathematically. And you will know if there is some error in one part of your code, it will not affect the other part of your code because that is an individual module in itself, a function in itself. And this makes it very easy to, um, communicate between different readers. So when you say, yeah, there is some function which does this, you know it does this, and so on. So this is very good implementation. It is not just my idea. I have learned from few of the different professors of other institutes through YouTube only, and they also like or recommend doing this. All right. Yes. So factorial problem, we have discussed factorial problems a lot of times. You can do it using a loop. You can also do it recursion, doesn't matter. All right. So should we, I don't think I did need to do this factorial calculation. Should I?
Factorial we already checked. I think it's not.
Yes. Okay. So anagram checker is also very simple. What you do is you take two inputs from the user. All right. So say S1 is an input from the user and S2 is an input from the user. You have two inputs from the user. And what is an anagram? Anagram is actually if one, so silent and listen are anagrams. So all the characters in silent are same as the characters in listen, but in some other order. All right. So it is SILLENT and LISTEN. So they are spelled with the same characters. All right. So these are anagrams. So what you do, you take two user inputs, S1 and S2, and you have a function called sort both the strings, and then you check for equality. So I'll just show you one example. So I'll say silent and I'll say listen. So what I will do is S1 equals to sorted S1, and I'll say S2, or just sorted S1 equals to sorted S2. That will also work. Sorted S1 equal to sorted S2. If this is true, then it is an anagram. If this is false, then it is not an anagram. Very, very simple code. And why I had asked you to write pseudocode and algorithms and not the Python code directly, because at that time point when I had given you assignment one, we had not discussed functions. So this whole assignment did not require you the idea of functions. So at that time point, we had not discussed functions. Although I am writing the solutions here as functions, but at time point, we had not discussed functions, and I did not expect you to use sorted and all these functions because we had not discussed functions. That's why I had asked you to write either pseudocode or algorithm. And maybe if you have idea of these functions, you could write Python code. All right. So this was the idea. But if you write this as an algorithm, this is not what you should do, because these are some functions and you don't know how these functions are implemented. So for an algorithm, this is incorrect. Why this is incorrect? Because you don't know what sorted is doing. So in case you have written some algorithm to do that, how will you do? You will see characters in S1 and you will say if C in S1, then you will say, so there will be a checker. So if this not karte hain, so it will be if C not in S, check is equals to, so I'll say check equals to false. FALSE, and C equal to checker. Check equal to false.
Is it S2?
Yes, S2. Yes, thank you. Else check equal to true. I think this is complete. I don't know. Maybe some things are left, but this is how the algorithm will work. Now also it is not complete, but not a complete algorithm. Why? Because you don't know how this in is working. But mathematically, you can say I'll take individual characters from the strings and I'll check if that character is there inside the other string or not. Yeah, that will work, but yeah, still. So this is one more way to do the same problem. All right.
Okay, but if you go like this, if checking in not everything, then we have to develop from scratch. Like
You see,
it's
this is
very,
not
very
complete, right?
difficult.
I'm sorry, I'll come back to you, but this is not complete. Why this is not complete? Because you're just checking for S1. You have to do that for S2 as well. So the same thing you have to do that for S2 as well. All right. So you have to do this for S2 as well, because like this S1, and you have to make two checks. So check one and check two and so on. And then you will say if check one and check two, then you will say it is an anagram.
Or
Yeah, sorry,
maybe we can just sorry.
What you are saying?
My first question was, I mean, as you said, if how the in is not working, so this is not a proper algorithm. So then if we go on implementing or some logic for checking everything like this in sorted everything, then it will become too complex for, or it will become very long code, right?
So I do not expect you to write everything, but I'm just giving you the idea. Yeah, it is in
Well, I
Python,
mean,
it
yes.
becomes very simple.
Mm.
Actually, if you write the same code in C, some very primitive languages like Java or C, it will be huge code. Ma'am will know. Well, Yavani ma'am, if you had to implement this same code in either, I guess you are in C++, I guess, right?
Yes, sir. You don't have so many built-in functions like what you have in Java.
Yes. So it will be
That is the
huge code.
reason.
You have,
That's what I
so
came to
that is,
learn Python. What is there in it to find out.
yes. So that is why I was saying that in you are using it very nicely, but it is not uh, there in other languages. So yeah, then it
Yeah,
becomes more algorithmic thinking. So you have to
my
think
program is
algorithmically.
algorithmic approach based. It is there. Let me have to explore more, sir. Then I'll do it.
Okay, sure, sure. So this encryption is, I had given a very basic encryption. You have to just shift some characters. All right. So do I need to do this or I can skip? Okay, I have time. I'll do it. So yeah. So any questions over here?
No, sir.
Yeah. So you see, suppose I have a string called this is a test message. All right. And I want you to shift it by say 5 characters. All right. So what can you do? You can say, so you see, first let me do this. Now I want you to shift this 5 characters to the left or yeah. So what I want is shift this to the left. So nothing is there. So this 5 characters will come over here. All right. It will come over here. So shift everything by 5 characters, everything. So this starting of the 5 things will come at the end. That is what I want you to do. So what is the starting of this string? This is the starting of the string. So where it starts, it actually starts at 6th position, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6th position. You have to say 6 to everything. So first, when you do this, you will get okay from 5, I guess, because it starts with 0. Yeah. So you got this, and you will have to say plus s everything till 5. When you do this, you will get the new string which we wanted. All right. You store it in S1. So this is the encrypted message. S1 is the encrypted message. Right. Then you have to decrypt it. Use the same logic. What you have to do, you have to extract the last 5 characters or 5 in case of 5, you can say L because I have written L. All right. So just extract this and append it or concatenate it over there. Just extract this first and then concatenate it over last. That is what this program is. Any questions?
No,
Any?
sir.
Yeah. So yes. So this is assignment 1. So tomorrow we should discuss assignment 2. All right. It will take time because assignment 2's questions are bit involved as compared to assignment 1. Right. And yeah, one mistake I had made in question 10. There were some gibberish text in between these two upper bound, and there was some text and then note was there. So I guess that was my error. I should have informed you earlier, but I don't know how it came over here. So some text was there in between upper bound and note that shouldn't have been there. And everything else is correct. Yeah. So we will discuss this assignment tomorrow. Tomorrow at same time, 6 p.m.
Okay, sir.
I'll just mark the attendance. Any questions?
So when we'll have the final exam?
So we don't have a final exam. We just have a project submission.
Project submission assignments. That's all.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
So, regarding the certificate,
Yeah, I have mailed them. I have not received a reply. Actually, when I had issued this course, I had a talk. I had a mail conversation with them, and they told me that they will issue a certificate for the students which have certain criteria, which I have written in my first course handout. But again, I have to confirm with them. So that is why I'm not very clear on the certification part, because that will be provided by ISIS and not me.
Okay, sir.
All right. So thank you for joining. I hope today was helpful.
Yes, sir. Today is very
Thank you,
interesting.
sir.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.